I was never expecting to make a video like this. Again, the last time I did this was for Jason David Frank, someone who still meant a lot to me. But this one might hurt even more. Not to mention, it's only been 4 years since we lost the voice of Frieza, Chris Ayres, which honestly makes this sting even more. Not to mention, I think it was 2020, 2021, we lost Kirby Morrow. This one hurts, man. This one really hurts. I had originally planned for today to be like a big day in terms of uploads for this channel. I was going to review the Blumhouse movie Imaginary. I was going to review the new movie Damsel. I was going to review Kung Fu Panda 4. I'm still going to go see it tonight, but whether or not I'll actually put out a review tonight or not is still a question in my head that I haven't really been able to, fully been able to figure out yet. And I was going to do a live stream first impressions review surprise of the Dragon Ball Super card game, the digital version that just came out only a few days ago. Not to mention, I also just bought Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 last night on my Steam, on my PC. And I had plans to live stream it because it is still, to this day, my personal favorite Dragon Ball game. But then, while I was talking with my friend Caitlin, she told me of this news. And at first, I obviously thought it was fake because this was a fake rumor a while ago, for those of you who may or may not remember. But, I looked it up immediately after, and it's sadly true. Akira Toriyama, the creator of my all-time favorite anime franchise, Dragon Ball, has passed away at the age of 68. I have read the official statement that was put up on the Dragon Ball site, but I don't want to just read that off and say rest in peace, etc., because this one means so much to me personally that I felt like I needed to make it more personal. Dragon Ball has been a huge part of my life for a very long time. I started out a bit later than most. I was around the age of, I want to say 6, when my older brother was still into anime, and he was watching an episode on Toonami. Now, I can't remember which episode it was exactly, but if I had to guess, I believe it was an episode, it was a rerun, obviously. It was a rerun, I believe, of an episode of the Cell Saga, because one of the things that I can somewhat vividly remember was my first time seeing Goku and seeing this character design was the scene where he's, practicing staying in Super Saiyan longer with his son Gohan. They just got out of the hyperbolic time chamber, and they're driving in the car when Cell makes this big announcement over the radio. I don't know how or why, but that part's always kind of just stuck in my head, and I assume that it is the first scene I've seen from Dragon Ball, but I could very obviously be wrong. But, at times, sometimes you forget things. So please excuse me if I end up being incorrect. And then, for those of you that just watched my Dragon Ball review from back in September, when I knocked out every single other thing I didn't review in the first Super Saiyan Temper, I talked about how much I loved this franchise. I talked about all the greatness of the franchise and how it personally connected to me. hell, when I first started reviewing it, I told you guys the story about how I personally became a Dragon Ball fan. But for those of you that don't know that story, I feel it's best to give you a nice little reminder. Um, Unlike most people, I didn't grow up watching Toonami or much Cartoon Network. Now, I still did. Don't get me wrong. Don't get it twisted. I still watched Cartoon Network, but as a kid, I was the Nickelodeon guy. I watched pretty much nothing but Nickelodeon, with the exception of Jetix because, Sonic X, TMNT 2003, etc., etc. But to me, my childhood was Nickelodeon. It was SpongeBob. It was Danny Phantom. It was Fairly Odd Parents. It was Jimmy Neutron. It was My Life as a Teenage Robot. It was Invader Zim. It was reruns of Rugrats. It was the 3 Rugrats movies. I was the Nickelodeon kid a lot growing up. Nickelodeon and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, when I was a young kid, was my big obsession. And then, I want to say around my late childhood, probably around somewhere around the age of maybe 9 or 10 years old, is when I end up watching Dragon Ball through Dragon Ball Z Kai, which was airing on Nicktoons at the time. And I remember a small vivid image in my head of my brother watching it, and I decided to watch it for myself. And obviously it was another rerun. It was in the middle of the Cell Saga, so yeah, I was very much out of line with the actual continuity or the actual, the order you're supposed to watch it in. But I fell in love with the series watching it on Nicktoons. I found it compelling. I found it incredibly action-packed, incredibly fun, at times extremely funny, and I loved the art style, I loved the characters, and I especially fell in love with this guy right here, with Son Goku. But then, like I told you guys in the story when I said this before, at the beginning of Super Saiyan Temper 2, I unfortunately forgot about Dragon Ball and ended up moving on to other things. And then it was around the time of Battle of Gods coming out that I rediscovered how much I truly love this show and this franchise. And after watching Battle of Gods and seeing how amazing it was and being reminded of how just amazing this franchise is, shortly after, I went back through my on-demand on my Xfinity at the time, and I rewatched the entirety of Dragon Ball Z Kai from start to finish. And I absolutely loved it. And from there, I was permanently hooked into the franchise. Since then, I have seen every single thing related to Dragon Ball. I saw the original Dragon Ball for the first time about 2 years ago. I've seen Dragon Ball Z, literally all the different dubs, the AB group dub, the Ocean dub, the in-house Funimation dub, and of course DBZ Kai. I also have seen Dragon Ball GT. That was my first experience with disappointment with this franchise. Then I subjected myself to Dragon Ball Evolution, which was not very good. But then I watched all the movies since then, after that disappointment, but I still watched all the movies. I played a ton of the Dragon Ball games. The first video game I ever bought with my actual money, it wasn't Sonic, it wasn't SpongeBob, it was Dragon Ball. It was Xenoverse 2 on PlayStation 4. A copy that I still have to this day. That was the first game I actually bought with my own money, because I did own the original Xenoverse, but it was for PS3, and it was actually because of my mom that I was actually able to buy that game in the first place. But with Xenoverse 2, it was my first time buying anything Dragon Ball related with my own money. And then shortly after that, while I was in a Walmart, I ended up finding that pack of the first 5 movies, and from there, it snowballed into me becoming a huge Dragon Ball collector. and I have rewatched the series many times since then, and I have, of course, seen Dragon Ball Super. Personally, I love that show. I love Super. I love all the new things it brought to the franchise. And excluding the two really lousy movie recap arcs of Battle Gods and Resurrection F, I still really love that show. I watch it all the time. And I am an active defender of Super, despite some of its obvious problems, as I explained at length in my Saga reviews during Super Saiyan Temper 2, literally last September. And then, as you guys know, yesterday I posted my reviews of the entire Kung Fu Panda trilogy. And specifically, I was wearing this hat and a shirt from My Hero Academia. I was wearing this hat entirely unaware that Akira Toriyama had passed away. And I wore it because I am a Dragon Ball fan, and because I don't have an MHA hat yet, so it was more of a placeholder. I literally had no clue about what happened until after the fact. So please don't take this being in those reviews as disrespectful. It was merely really bad coincidence, I promise you. But now I'm getting back on topic. Sorry, I kind of rambled for a bit. I'm not usually one that's affected too much by celebrity deaths, unless it's like someone that's connected to my childhood. Like Robbie Coltrane, that one hurt because I grew up watching Harry Potter. It was one of the franchises that me and my mom connected the most over, and we still rewatch it a ton to this day. Chris Ayres, obviously that one really hurt because being a Dragon Ball fan, and not only that, it was only a few years after Dragon Ball Super Broly came out, and that one really hurt because it was my personal first experience with a big celebrity death that affected me. And I've actually been somewhat lucky enough to not have experienced death in my actual family. The only death I've actually heard or known about was my great-grandmother, Helen, way, way back. Now, obviously, more family members have passed away before then, but they were more connected to my mom more so than me. So I haven't really experienced death the same way that probably many people have at my age. You know, losing grandparents or great-grandparents, or in some people's case, like Syriacs, their relatives and their siblings. So, but Jason David Frank, when I did that video and when I found out about that death, that's when things really, really hurt, because I was a huge Power Rangers fan as a kid. Dino Thunder was my first season. It still remains my best season if you see my Morphin May reviews. Sorry, this is literally with no script or any plan. I'm just trying to, give my memories of people that were close to me, and then also paying tribute to this absolute legend that we've sadly lost. So please don't take this as disrespectful. I don't mean to ramble. I'm just trying to show how much this series means to me and how deeply this death has affected me personally, even though I didn't know this guy personally. But getting back on topic, Jason David Frank, that death hurt. Like, it legit hurt. I believe, on my computer, I was scrolling around, farting around YouTube like most people my age. And I saw this article while scrolling through my Facebook that he had passed away. And at first, I thought it was a joke, because it was from a pretty unreliable source, Noisy Pixel. They are not very reliable. But, it was real, and it hurt. You guys saw that video I made announcing that I was even doing Morphin May in the first place as tribute to him and the many other Ranger actors we've lost since then, and before then. But that one really brought everything into perspective, that The worst part about growing up is that you have to watch all your childhood heroes die around you. It's sad, but it is inevitable because death comes for us all. We just don't know exactly when, which is why we have to cherish every day that we have as much as we possibly can. So now getting back on track with Akira Toriyama. Like I said, I didn't really know this guy personally. He was a very private, quiet man. He rarely ever did interviews, and he was really passionate about his art. He was excited to work on this series, and even despite some of the scorn us fans have thrown at him because of some of the decisions that we weren't big fans of, we still supported him, and we were still thankful for everything that he did. Because this guy made a lot of people's childhoods and has brought comfort to many who are going through bad situations or needed something to help get them through the day. Like, I was literally just telling my girlfriend this. Whenever I'm having a bad day, I just always think of Goku. And somehow that, just thinking about him always brings me strength. It makes me feel more confident in myself. And, this is a little fun fact about me, and this might be a little bit embarrassing. But, for my senior year quote in 2019, when I graduated high school, I picked a Dragon Ball quote. Specifically, I guess name calling's your only attack because you're too weak to challenge me any other way. It was a line that meant a lot to me as a kid who went through bullying and as a guy who went through a lot of scorn and rivalry and side eyes, and you know what I mean if you've been through high school. And I still don't regret doing that. Is it geeky? Probably, but that quote has always stuck in my head ever since I first saw the entirety of the original dub of Dragon Ball Z. And that quote just always means so much to me because it brought me comfort when I was getting bullied or when I was having to deal with real freaking terrible people. I just always thought to myself, well, name call me all you want because apparently it's your strongest attack and you're too weak to do anything else. Like, that's what was going through my head. And I still think about that quote, and it's arguably probably one of my favorite quotes in all of everything. So I didn't know this guy personally, and I know a lot of fans that didn't either. Heck, even Geekdom 101, who has met almost every freaking Dragon Ball actor known to man. He has not met Mr. Toriyama, and he's as devastated by this news as we are. And it's incredibly sad that he's gone. Not to mention at such a young age, at only 68. Only, a few years older than Stefan Hillenberg when he passed away in 2019? Yeah, that one hurt too. But that one I was a little less public about because back then I didn't really know how to handle it. So, yeah, excuse me. Sorry, I know that I'm rambling on and on about a bunch of stuff, but I'm just trying to articulate as best I can how much I love this series and how much this death has really affected me. Because like I said, I didn't expect it to happen. I wore this out of mere bad coincidence. And I was talking with friends, I was having a good time, and then I got told this news. I thought it was fake at first because it was a fake rumor a few years back that he had passed away. And thankfully back then it was confirmed to be fake and debunked. But now, today, this is real. And apparently he died at the beginning of the month too, and they waited until he was already buried to share the news with us. and it is incredibly sad, and it has definitely left me pretty devastated. Like, I literally spent last night crying my freaking eyes out. And yes, I don't care about admitting that, because as men, we should not be afraid of emotions. Emotions is what makes us human, and I don't want you guys to ever be afraid of showing that. Okay? Whoever says that you have to be tough all the time is a liar. No one can be tough all the time. It's literally impossible. So, having heard that he passed away, and now having spent a whole night crying my eyes out over it, I'm still not really at peace with this news, and I'm probably going to need a few days to really grieve, if you understand what I'm saying. So I've delayed the DBS card game live stream until I feel comfortable enough to do that video without being an emotional wreck on camera. And I just want to say thank you, Mr. Toriyama, for everything you brought to me, to the entire Dragon Ball fan base, and heck, just to the entire world in general. Because many other communities that I'm a part of are paying tribute to this man right now. Whether it's One Piece, or Bleach, or Naruto, animes that he inspired, or even something entirely different like Sonic, or Fortnite, or heck, even Has-Been Hotel. That fan base is paying tribute to Mr. Toriyama as we speak. Like, we are all coming together and unifying to honor this man that brought so much to so many of us. And especially us in our 20s and 30s who grew up watching this show. Whether it was reruns, whether it was first premiere live on Toonami in the 90s. Like, we all have a connection with Dragon Ball in some way. So, yeah, it is with a heavy heart that I do share this news with you. And I ask for your patience and your understanding while I try to process this. But I just wanted to make this quick little video to say thank you. Thank you to Mr. Toriyama for bringing us this wonderful show with these amazing characters that have touched so many of our hearts and have changed so many of our lives. You've truly made some incredible work, and it's no doubt that it'll never be forgotten, and your legacy will live on forever in our hearts, in our memories, and in the history of all animation. And I'm just sad that I couldn't really get to tell you this in person, but you were a very private and quiet man, and I can respect that. So, thank you for everything, Mr. Toriyama. May you forever rest in peace. Thank you for everything that you've given us, and all I'm going to say, it's going to be a lot harder watching Sandland and Dragon Ball Diamond now, because those are your last known projects, and they're pretty much going to be your swan song now, and your final farewell to all of us still down here in the mortal world while you're up there in Otherworld. So, yeah, I just wanted to make this video to try to give my condolences as best I can without crying on camera, because I already cried my eyes out last night, and I almost cried this morning, so I'm probably going to be watching a lot of Dragon Ball stuff, and taking a brief break from some of my content, just to try and process all of this. I'm still going to do the Miraculous reviews, because that's only one a day, that's nice and easy, and I can find some kind of comfort in it. I mean, after all, like I've stated before numerous times, Jeremy Zag, like us, is a huge Dragon Ball fan, so it brings some kind of comfort. And I just want to give my condolences to his family, his friends, and the rest of the Dragon Ball community and the entire world that is all in shock and grieving over this news. Because he's touched so many hearts, he's touched so many lives, and the world's definitely a much less bright place without him in it. But I only wish nothing but the best for his family, and I will do my best to try and come to terms with this event. I thank you all for watching. I'm not making this video to capitalize on his death or anything like that. It's a video to just pay tribute to someone who brought so much to me personally. I may not have known him personally, but that doesn't change the fact that he's changed a lot of lives with what he's done. It's gonna be tough watching and reviewing Dragon Ball now, knowing that its creator sadly won't get to see whatever comes next. So, thank you all for watching. Feel free to leave your own memories of Dragon Ball or your tributes to Mr. Toriyama in the comments section. And I only wish you the best in this time of grief and sadness. I love you all, and I'll see you whenever I see you, okay? Stay strong, be good people,